The franchise's development tool. This presentation covers the use of the franchise model to succeed in the delivery of social services and social assistance, as well as in the achievement of the development goals. The presentation will be divided in two parts, the first one focusing the analysis of the franchise model, its strengths and weaknesses, its advantages and shortcomings. The second part will review the consequences of the application of that model to the delivery of social services and social assistance through the social franchises, and to the achievement of development goals through the social franchise enterprises, and how the use of this model limits or enhances the results. To begin with the franchise model as it is applied in the private sector, the project starts as any project where an individual or company detects a specific need by a certain market. The enterprise defines what the final product or service will be, decides and locates the necessary inputs, and establishes the sets of processes that will lead to the production of a consistent good or service and its timely delivery to the targeted public or market at a viable price. If the good or service fulfills the detected needs, the market will start growing, and with it, the company's interest to further extend its market. However, this growth will in a way distance the enterprise from its targeted public. The company will have to put in place systems to manage larger teams and workforce, extend distribution networks, define transportation and delivery, follow up collections, and put in place controls at every step in order to maintain its capacity to deliver consistent goods or services. This in turn will require that a part of the cash flow is now allocated to the management of the growing operation, detracting it from its investment in bringing in new clients and markets. Distance in this context does not only refer to geography, but also to different market niches, to new distribution networks, to overcome entry barriers, etc. Therefore, at some stage, the enterprise will consider its association with third parties to reduce that distance and to enter those new markets and further expand its sales. This may be done through agents, branches, etc., but at some stage, depending on the sector and the good or service, the franchise alternative will be considered. Through it, the entrepreneur becomes a franchisor and enters in a commercial agreement with a third party, the franchisee, who is closer to its market and in a better position to deliver the franchisor's goods or services. The franchisee obtains the know-how to produce and deliver a proven and successful product or service to this market, avoids a steep learning curve, and secures a certain exclusivity to sell the right good or service in a given geographical area with limited competition. The franchisee sees these advantages and how all of them result in a reduction of the level of risk of the investment, a major component to consider when one invests its own capital in a business. The added value of the know-how is also accepted, and the franchisee is willing to pay, at least initially, franchise fees. In turn, the franchisor achieves an extension of its market, overcoming the barriers and capitalizing its know-how through the franchise fee. But also, the franchisor avoids the capital expenditure needed to serve this new market, liberating these resources and making them available for other purposes and necessary investments. It is a win-win situation. In any case, the franchisor retains the leadership of the brand marketing. Marketing was redefined not so long ago by the American Marketing Association as the activity, set of institutions and processes for creating, communicating, delivering and exchanging offerings that have value for customers, clients, partners and society at large. The main conclusion of the above definition is that marketing is no longer a function but an educational process. And by driving and implementing this educational process throughout the overall franchise, the franchisor creates value for the stakeholders and consolidates the capacity of the organization to continue doing so. As mentioned, the value is created in the first stage by defining the good or service and then creating a set of procedures, standards, training and built-in monitoring systems that will enable the franchisor to achieve consistency in the production and timely delivery of the good or service at a market price. The above is then adapted to enable its replication and remote implementation with no detriment to the end good or service. The monitoring systems provide data to establish the benchmarks, which in turn enable a constant evaluation of the franchisee's performance and the early detection of new variables affecting the expected outcome. From the franchisee's point of view, the know-how received allows the new entity to become operational in a very short time, and as such, to deliver the goods or services to a specific market and to generate revenue and results almost immediately. The franchisor in turn not only receives the expected growth with no further investment, but as we saw, secures the consolidation of the brand and its perception by the market. While the above explains why the franchisees are successful in the first stage of a startup and early operation, these elements are not enough to succeed in the further development of the franchise. Let us not forget the franchisee is an entrepreneur as well, and once the training and the procedures and systems are in place, they will be taken for granted and considered of a lesser value. The franchisee will then reassess the situation and start to wonder if he or she would not be doing better outside the franchise. As a result, the franchise model requires that the franchisor continues to provide the franchisee with added value on a regular basis. Whether it be through bulk purchasing, benefiting from economies of scale, and making available to the franchisee the necessary inputs at better prices, better payment conditions, tailoring delivery, or by securing the procurement and provisioning of standardized inputs and supplies to permit the franchisee to better control production costs and achieve more consistent end good or service. In any case, the franchisee must receive added value from the franchisor. Franchisee may also receive added value from other franchisees, and thanks to the leads and referrals made by the network, each franchisee may enlarge its client base. Or it may be simply that the added value is provided by the market's perception of the brand. Whatever the mix of these or other elements or services provided by the franchisor or the brand, the franchisee must perceive the value for the fees paid to the franchisor. And as we saw, the fees received enable the franchisor to contribute to the solidity of the brand and to continue creating value for customers, clients, partners, and society at large, as the definition states. By succeeding in the above, the franchise attains a new stage in which the brand and the franchisee network are consolidated, and both the franchisor and the franchisees will benefit from a rapid expansion of the overall brand and operation through new franchisees. Consequently, any system that enables a rapid extension of the brand will be well perceived by the market and the stakeholders. At this new stage, thanks to the experience in the management of existing franchisees and the monitoring, performance assessments, and benchmarking established for internal purposes, the franchisor can now compile this information to prepare feasibility and viability studies for new franchisees. This information may be also conveyed to banks and credit institutions, which in turn may now compare it with their internal information and to the benchmarks they apply to the respective industry. Consequently, the banks will then be capable to assess risk and to analyze credit operations based on these standards. Resulting from this, the franchisor may negotiate standard form agreements with credit institutions and in this way make available to franchisees financing opportunities that otherwise would not be at their reach. Indeed, in the same way that the franchise overall size enables to secure economies of scale and to propose better conditions for the franchisee in the procurement of their supplies, the franchise internal monitoring system and benchmarking in place can be used as well to the benefit of the franchisees by rendering the business bankable. And to achieve bankability is a major milestone for any business. To summarize, the franchise model has proven its validity by its widespread use and presence in so many activities, sectors, and countries. Its strengths are probably the same as its weaknesses. It is based in the capacity to replicate its components, to incorporate varied stakeholders to a common goal, and to deliver value at each stage. But to replicate means to produce a replica, an exact copy. Hence, a franchise is successful when all franchisees offer a consistent product or service at any and all outlets, and this can only be achieved if the franchisor retains the capacity to define policies, set guidelines, establish procedures, and impose systems in order to maintain the overall structure. The franchise must be run as a vertical organization. The above allows the franchise to extend its footprint very fast with limited investment. However, to consolidate the franchisor must invest in providing added value to the franchisees so as to keep them part of the franchise and continue collecting the franchise fee. Hence, franchisor and franchisees are interdependent and their respective role and revenues must be balanced. The model shows its fragility when the balance is lost. It may come from lack of management procedures or systems that leads to inconsistency, which in turn damages the brand and reduces its value for the franchisees. Or it may come by a fee structure that is not in line with what the franchisee receives. In any case, non-performing franchises lead too quickly to a fragmentation of the brand image, a progressive non-compliance with the procedures, and/or the non-payment of the fees of the part of the franchisees. This situation limits the capacity of the franchisor to provide services affecting all franchisees, and it is followed by an abandonment of the franchisees and the interruption of the capacity to sell under the brand. In spite of the above, it is a very powerful model that enables the fastest growth, and it works at its best when the product or service can be standardized and its characteristics require that it is offered to the market on site, through outlets evenly distributed to cover specific areas of influence. Once we have covered the main elements of the franchise, the second part of the presentation will review the consequences of the application of that model to the delivery of social services and social assistance through social franchises and to the achievement of development goals through the social franchise enterprises, and how the use of this model limits or enhances the expected results.